Well, welcome to KREM 2 News at noon. I'm Jen York, joined by my colleague Evan Narani at home. Evan, how are things shaping up today?
Things are looking pretty nice right now, Jen. How are you?
Doing all right. I just stepped outside, nice and warm today.
Yeah, things are looking pretty nice. We're warming up to possibly the warmest temperatures of 2020 so far. I'm sure you can get around to that, right?
I'm on board with that. We'll get to Evan and more in just a few minutes, but first we do want to get to some quick headlines. New at noon, Governor Jay Inslee is set to give an update today on the state's coronavirus response. He is set to speak at 2:30 in Olympia. The governor will be joined by public health leaders. Now, right now, Washington's Stay Home, Stay Healthy order expires on Monday, May 4th. Earlier, the governor's team announced it is likely the order will be extended. Of course, we don't have many details on his announcement for this afternoon. We will have updates, though, once that announcement has been made on KREM.com and the KREM 2 mobile app. And here are three things to know today. There is a warning about reopening states too soon. Experts say progress to slow the spread of coronavirus could be lost. The nation's top expert says it's inevitable the virus will be here in the fall.
It could be a rebound to get us right back in the same boat that we were in a few weeks ago.
And the order for states to safely reopen, experts say the U.S. should do up to 5 million tests per day. The country right now is currently only doing about 200,000. In the meantime, Washington's Stay Home, Stay Healthy order again is set to expire on Tuesday. And again, Governor Inslee's staff say he may extend that order by the end of the week. Of course, we are expecting to hear more today. And happening today, Spokane Public Schools will decide whether to declare a budget emergency due to lost revenue. The district's board of directors are scheduled to hold a meeting tonight to discuss a proposed resolution. It is possible the district will be put on a hiring freeze or leaders will reduce staffing levels. That vote is scheduled for 7 p.m. and we will have updates on KREM.com and the KREM 2 mobile app. And it has plagued our community for years, but right now experts say Spokane County is seeing a boom in property crime. So the Spokane County Sheriff's Office established the Property Crimes Task Force. The team will identify and arrest criminals preying on the community during the pandemic. Now, right now, local leaders say commercial burglary is up 162%. Robbery is up 68%, and residential burglary is up 42%.
This is unacceptable. COVID has victimized this community across the board. I think it's time for us to not allow it to create more crime victims, just in the sense of trying to release people from jail.
Well, Sheriff Ozzie Knezovich says data from the task force will be used to target times, locations, and known offenders. Coronavirus testing sites are expanding in Spokane County. This is an effort to provide more residents access to services. The testing location at the Spokane County Fairgrounds was set to close tomorrow, but with some help, it will now remain open.
And I am pleased to say that that site will actually stay in place. We're looking at having the National Guard support that site over the next few weeks.
So Providence Health and Services, Multicare, and Chaz Health will be able to now offer screenings. And if needed, testing at clinics can start as early as Saturday. A new study shows some promising news for Idaho. The state begins phase 1 of reopening this Friday. And according to a Harvard University study, Idaho is one of only 19 states performing enough tests daily to open by May. Last week, the U.S. provided 1.6 million tests, and researchers say the U.S. needs to double that. So to put this into perspective, according to the study, Idaho needs to test about 260 people a day to safely reopen. Meanwhile, California needs to test upwards of 250,000 people per day.
While we know that we cannot reopen everything all at once and undo all the progress to prevent coronavirus deaths, we do have a plan.
Again, Idaho will begin phase 1 of reopening in 2 days. Last week, Idaho Governor Brad Little released a 4-step plan to reopen the state. He believes most businesses will be back open by the end of June. And Governor Little stressed for the plan to work, people must continue to social distance.
Opening Idaho at the right pace is critical, and the plan we are laying out will give consumers, employers, and employees a concrete path back to prosperity.
And Governor Little also unveiled a new website to track the reopening process. It names specific businesses and when they can begin the reopening process. You can visit that at rebound.idaho.gov. You can also find a link to that website on our website, KREM.com. Again, stage 1 is on Friday. Under the plan, places of worship can open if they adhere to strict physical distancing. Daycare facilities and organized youth activities can also reopen. People in Idaho are still advised to avoid non-essential travel, and out-of-state travelers will be subject to a 14-day quarantine through the end of May. For more information about Idaho's economic recovery plan, you can text the word Idaho to 509-448-2000. 12:06 now, and today may be the warmest day of the year so far. Evan Arani tells us what to expect as we head into this afternoon. Hi, Evan.
Hey, Jen. Yes, happy afternoon. We've made it through the noon hour now of our Wednesday, so we're halfway through the week, and with it, we're bringing along some of the warmer temperatures of 2020. We could be hitting record territory, which would be about 75. If we make it to 75, it'll be the first time since September of last year that we hit that milestone. Otherwise, though, anything above 70 really is breaking the record for what we've seen so far this year. April 10th was the last time we made it to 70 degrees as that forecast high. Couple thunderstorms definitely possible through this afternoon and this evening. Take a look at your satellite radar. Everywhere highlighted in green is where we could see them, but otherwise it is looking pretty light for the most part. You can see the overlay on there of satellite radar, which indicates just a few light showers up around the international border and around western Montana. Most of the day is going to involve some overcast conditions, but otherwise hoping to make it to 73, maybe 74, and like I said, some models put us as warm as 75. Now, the other thing that I want to point out, the second point of good news, the top right corner of your screen there shows the sunset time. That's 8 p.m. First time of 2020 that we'll be seeing a sunset in the 8 o'clock hour, and it's only going to get better from here. Eventually, we'll be making it toward about the later 8 p.m. hour, toward 9 p.m. is when we'll see that sunset in the month of June. So things are only going up from here, Jen.
It's that time of year, Evan, where us early risers and once you go to bed in the daylight have to bring out the eye masks.
That's exactly right. We've got the blackout curtains, the eye mask, all of the above. But then it also is good news for us because we see earlier sunrises. So by June, we will see that sunrise closer to the 4 a.m. hour.
All right, Evan, thank you so much for that report. We're going to look at his extended forecast coming up in here just a few minutes. But first, we do want to take a look at the latest numbers across the inland Northwest. The Spokane Regional Health District confirms 351 cases now in Spokane County of coronavirus. The local death toll stands at 20. The Washington Department of Health reports 265 cases in Franklin County, 155 in Grant County, 75 in Douglas County, 46 in Adams County, 21 in Okanogan County, 14 in Whitman County, 9 in Stevens County, 2 in both Lincoln and Pend Oreille counties, and 1 in Ferry County. Statewide, there are 786 coronavirus-related deaths among more than 13,000 cases. Across state line, the Panhandle Health District confirms 65 cases in North Idaho, 61 of which are in Kootenai County. Bonner County confirms 4 cases. And the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare reports 60 deaths statewide among more than 1,800 cases. A University of Washington study shows more people could die from coronavirus in the U.S. than previously thought. Now, last week, UW's Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluation showed this first wave of infections was projected to kill 67,000 people, but the number jumped in the last week. Researchers say many states, including Washington, may experience longer epidemic peaks. They say daily coronavirus deaths are not falling quickly, and that could mean a higher death toll in the long run. Well, local governments are issuing protections for renters in light of the pandemic. So will people actually have to pay rent this month? Let's break it down.
Right now, you are responsible for this month's rent in the inland Northwest, meaning if you don't pay now, you will have to pay eventually. But when you have to pay and whether or not you might get evicted, well, that depends on what state you live in.
In Idaho, there has been no executive or legislative action to protect renters, with a small exception of some extremely limited measures in Boise. But an order by the state Supreme Court might help. Because of COVID-19, many types of hearings have been put on hold, and that includes most evictions. So in theory, if you don't pay rent this month, the eviction process could stall. But landlords can still start those proceedings and then evict you as soon as hearings are allowed again. Meanwhile, in Washington, Governor Inslee has ordered extensive protections for renters. He's dramatically expanded a previous order to reduce financial harm caused by not paying rent. The current order essentially bans all evictions unless there's proof the tenant poses imminent danger to health or safety. Property owners also can't move you to a different unit or charge any kind of late fees as punishment. Furthermore, they're not allowed to even threaten to do any of those things later because you aren't paying now. Finally, you will have to pay the rent eventually, but under this order, your landlord has to work out a reasonable payment plan. They can't treat back rent as enforceable debt, meaning they can't evict you for it, use a collections agency, or report it to a credit agency. There is an exception for those things, however, if you refuse to come to a reasonable payment agreement. Okay, what about mortgages? Well, the federal government has offered some help there if your mortgage is federally backed, such as through Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. There's a temporary stay on foreclosures until mid-May, and you have the right to request a forbearance on your mortgage if you've been hurt financially by COVID. Also, if your mortgage is federally backed, you can't evict any tenants you might have, no matter what state you're in, until mid-July. Now, if your mortgage isn't federally backed, there don't seem to be any explicit protections, but you may be able to work something out with the bank.
So bottom line, if you can pay your rent, doing so will help you avoid a lot of future grief no matter where you live. But in Idaho, if you don't pay rent, you could get evicted. Whereas in Washington, if you don't, you'll simply have to work out a payment plan with your landlord. In Spokane, Casey Decker, KREM 2 News.
All right, Casey, thank you. And many of you have reached out to us with questions about paying bills, stimulus checks, and unemployment. We do have resources available for you. You can text the word money to 509-448-2000.